Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back in with another sequence video. This one is in First Maccabees 6. So I have a little bit of a mini backlog to get through these, but there was a few days of rain, coming back to back here in Houston. So I've been playing a lot of golf, so I'm just going to kind of rest. So I'll probably have a bit more, content in the next few days. So, these sequence videos to me are fascinating. I find that the ones now that are encoded, which this one is, I would say lightly, but still encoded, are really cool. There are many that are just explicitly documenting the sequence, and you don't even have to interpret them. But, this one is unique. And then I find them very interesting in music, of course, and movies. I don't really watch very many movies, but I would assume it's there as well. But I'll just go over, the phrases and then add this one to the collection. First Maccabees 6, 1-14, I'll read it in the NRSV. Verse 2, it talks about its temple was very rich. Okay, and so God's elect are effectively Christ's temple. And so containing golden shields, breastplates, and weapons. And so this is like, their sort of helmet of salvation, and like the word essentially is their breastplate and their weapon. So verse 2 is using coded language for God's elect, the temple. Then in verse 4, it talks about Babylon. And then in verse 5, it talks about Persia and reported that the armies, and so the armies of Persia, which are the modern day people in Iran. And so they're going to be one of the nations that are going to be set against America, according to the book of Jeremiah. And so we have Christ taking away his elect, okay, a coded reference to the elect, the temple. Then we have Babylon and then Persia being referenced right next to each other, and then which America is destroyed after the Great Tribulation. And then now we're going to have references to Christ returning, with his elect. In verse 6, that the Jews had grown strong from the arms, supplies, and abundant spoils that they had taken from the armies they had cut down. And so this is Christ returning with his elect. In this case, the Jews are being referenced that they cut down, that they've destroyed. That they had torn down the abomination that he had erected on the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had surrounded the sanctuary with high walls as before. So they're returning high in the sky, fortified and strong. Then if you skip down to verse 14, which is a number 14, 144, 44 are used to reference God's elect. Then he called for Philip, one of his friends, and made him ruler over all of his kingdom. And so this is coded reference for the elect ruling over the kingdom, and that's in verse 14, which is not by coincidence. So even in this, relatively few number of verses, we see a reference to the temple. Then we see a reference to Babylon being destroyed by Persia. Then we have a reference to the Jews growing strong and then returning to fight and destroy. And then we have a reference to the kingdom being run by God's elect. So First Maccabees 6, 1-14 has a sequence. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.